Once again, I'm live with another video, guys. Aj, today I came live with a new way of learning cybersecurity. Yeah, I will be discussing Mitre framework with you guys. Yeah, तो मुझे लगता है ये this will be a very good chance for you to learn Mitre framework with me because I have a lot of experience in cybersecurity and I will be going through these different tactics in the Mitre with the different scenarios for you. So this will help you to learn cybersecurity from SOC perspective if you are working in a SOC or if you are looking for cybersecurity opportunities. I hope my voice is clear. Yep, let me just now show you the Mitre. Yes, Mitre. Cool. ठीक है, so we are live now. I can see I'm live. I can see this Mitre framework as well. So इसको जानने से पहले before we start discussing about these different topics, different tactics, different attacks, first understand why this is important for you. Why you should learn this? Why and how this can help you, in cracking cybersecurity interviews. So basically, let's understand if I'm an attacker, right? I'm a group. I'm running a group of attackers, right? And we have our own exploit. We are having our own exploit, our own way to compromise, to exploit, to target a company, the network, our own way to exfiltrate. We are using our own customized tool, right? So that means we have spent a lot of research in that to developing those tools, those techniques, and then sending, targeting a lot of companies, not a single company, a lot of other companies. We have a 0 day in the windows which we are not disclosing in the internet, but we are using it for our own purpose, for our own compromise into the different companies in their network. If I'm a group A, for example, if I'm using different lot of 100 techniques or 50 techniques, then you can find my old techniques because the might they're using the different researchers. They are different researchers, security researchers, looking, identifying the attacks in their network. They are discovering how an attacker attempting to compromise the initial network, how they're getting an access to initial machine, how they're doing privilege escalation, how they're executing their code, how they're evading from security control, how they're discovering, again doing lateral movement, how they're collecting the files, and how they're connecting to their own IPs from compromised machine. Yeah, so there are different tactics attackers can use. As per the Mitre framework, if we understand, there are 14 tactics used, and you can see there are different techniques also mentioned. For example, in the recon, we have recon is a tactic, resource development, initial access, executions, persistence, privilege escalation, defense, evasion, credential access, discovery, lateral movement, collection, command control, exfiltration, and impact. And all these different tactics have different techniques. You can see active scanning, gathering victim host information, acquire infrastructures, drive by compromise. So there are a lot of other techniques, and each different technique have further sub techniques here. For example, attack active scanning is a technique, and we have three other sub techniques like scanning IP blocks, vulnerability scanning, and word list scanning. Yeah, so we can say we have in the Mitre we have 14 tactics, approximately 150 techniques, and I think 270 sub techniques. Yeah, so if you will know this, then you will be a good hunter, you will be a good SOC analyst, you can be a good SOC lead, right? But you should know what are these tactics, what are these techniques, how these sub techniques works, and how you can identify these attempts from any attacker group in your company, how you can trace any attacker group. We will discuss Mitre also giving you the information based on the different attacker groups, what technique they use, what tactic they use, what sub technique they use, what is the intention. They're giving the reference of the different blogs as well. For example, if they're giving the information on specific techniques, then they are giving the references where it is documented, the attackers, how they are using it, to compromise to get into the machine. All right. So today's I'm gonna discuss about the recon. Yeah. So I will try, as I mentioned, yeah, guys, I will be covering live every day with one of the information which can be help you to learn. I can make a course on it, right? But if I'm giving you for free, you should take advantage of it also. Otherwise, if I will not get much appreciation, I'm sure I will be stop this also. I want you to guys appreciate it, right? I'm just coming for you only, guys, to teach you something new, to teach you something what I know, teach you something what I've experienced. If you will guys like not appreciating my work, I'm stop. I will make sure I will stop doing this, because I will do something else otherwise, right? I will do something which I will get the benefit of it. Yeah? There's no point of spending so much time here and not getting appreciation from you guys. Yeah. So keep appreciating my work. Otherwise, if I feel that you're not appreciating, I'm sure I will stop these videos. I will not worry about anybody else. Okay, cool. So active scanning. Yeah. Before active scanning, first understand what is reconnaissance. Yeah. So as per the CH, you have learned about the 5 techniques which attacker use, like recon, then they do scanning, then they do exploitation, then they maintain and they persist, right? Forget about now. Forget about everything what you know before. Understand now onwards what is a reconnaissance, right? How reconnaissance is used by the attacker. If you are an attacker, right, this is your first phase, first tactics you have to think about it. Reconnaissance, how you would start hacking into a machine. And if you're a SOC analyst also, or you're working in cybersecurity, you have also understand from the security detection and prevention perspective, how can you identify the recon attacks. Okay, so recon basically kind of scanning and gathering information about a network is we can say it's a recon attacks. So any attacks, any way of to recon about the network, about to know about the users, to know about the IP addresses. Okay, let's make it simple. If you're running a company, how others can know about your company, right? If attacker want to reach to your company, how they can reach you? They can reach by an IP address, right? IP address classification, private public IP address, no. Okay, we will not discuss about this classification in the private public IP address, but easy way they can know about your company by your employees, by because every employee has an account. They can target the accounts, they can recon for their accounts by the IP address assigned to your assets, to send to your server, right? They can do the recon on the IP addresses, on the port numbers. What are the ports number open at the end server, right? At the end server. So they can do the port scanning, they can do the host scanning, they can do live discovery of the endpoints in your network, right? And they do reconnaissance. So we can see now what are the different so basically this is called recon, like gathering information about the target. So we can see active scanning, gathering victim host information, gathering victim identity, like what operating system, I would say, victim network information, which subnet you are using, which IP address, which ASN number you have been assigned to, victim organization information, will information start information about the user, like for phishing them, right? We will look for the source of the information available online, like search engines, or if you are hosting kind of like websites, job posting for specific technology tools, they will come to know about it. Search open technical database. So we will go through these different each techniques, sub techniques, how they mention as per the Mitre websites, and what we can extract from it, right? Everything when you're learning, you are taking, you are exfiltrating that information from me now. Okay, I know something, I'm sharing something with you, you will gain something, you will forget something. So it's all about the extracting the information from one source to another source. So now we understood like that 14 tactics used by the attackers, or by used by the companies to monitor the attacker techniques, tactics, how they coming into the network to compromise it. Okay, now we will be first discussing about the reconnaissance, right? The 10 techniques. If we click on the first technique, like active scanning, I can see there are 3 sub techniques. scanning IP blocks, vulnerability scanning, and word list scanning. Scanning IP blocks. I'm clicking on this now. Select vulnerability scanning, word list scanning. Okay. So if I will open Mitre framework from here, tactics, enterprise, reconnaissance. Now I think this is easy to browse. I can also, I think, I can browse it from here also. Right click, view, technique. This is another way, right? Okay. So reconnaissance, yeah, and then we are digging down into the scanning IP blocks. So advisory can scan the IP blocks because when you are running a company, right, it doesn't mean you're running one public IP address only. You maybe have like 100 IP addresses assigned to your company network devices. Maybe one IP address to a web server, one web server 2, then web application server 3, then you're using some other internal applications, okay, which used by the employees to are sitting in the outside. The different IP, internal and public and private IP addresses assigned to your devices. Attackers can do a scanning against those IP blocks to see what are the IP addresses that are online, what are the devices IP addresses are offline. Once they identify the online devices, they do the scanning of the vulnerability, right? Advisories may scan victims for vulnerability that can be used during targeting. For example, they have given, for example, what softwares you are running on it. But before that, I would mention like after they do the scanning of the IP blocks, they do the scanning on the ports running on the machines, right? Only after that they can come to know which services you are running, and then they can do the vulnerability scanning. So I am adding my experience also. You can go through this, but I am adding my experience as well. So it will be, when you are learning one two people together, we learn more. Yeah. So active scanning, we understand it's another is a one technique in the reconnaissance phase, and there's some techniques like scanning IP address, then identifying online machines, then identify open ports. You identify the open ports, then you will look for the services running on that machine. Yeah, if you identify what service is running, then you can maybe do some other kind of scannings. And as per this techniques, right, active scanning, we can see there is a one sub-technique mentioned. Advisories may iteratively probe infrastructure using brute force and cooling techniques. So what happened basically, they can do the brute forcing also for the websites, for the domain name, for their website's name. For example, if you're using google.com, then they can brute force web.google.com, admin.google.com, admin1.google.com, console.google.com. So they're brute forcing, they're preparing a word list, to brute force your domain, to your websites, to gather information about your organizations. Yeah, dsp.google.com. Maybe something they will try to identify some information. Maybe they are, if they're running 100 of brute force, they maybe get information from 2 or 3. Yeah, but if they're getting some information, then they will use in their further different techniques. Yeah, then we have other. So I think you are clear on this, right? So if I will move to the navigator, right? So in active scanning, we can mention active scanning is a one technique, and then sub technique like scanning IP, scanning port, scanning vulnerability, and brute forcing a word list through a word list. Yeah, good examples, right? Now if we move to the victim host, gather victim host information. I'm moving to the gather victim host information. So I'm telling you guys, I've never ever read this information on this website. Yeah, but I'm sharing my experience here from the terminology they mentioned here, and I'm going through this website with you. So we can learn together, right? There's no shame of learning with you. I don't know, I don't learn something, I don't want to learn something, then it doesn't grow, right? It doesn't grow in my career. I cannot grow further in my career, guys. It's a no shame to accept this. I don't know. Yes, I don't know a lot of things. If you say, no, no, Vikram, I know everything, then I will maybe ask you a lot of questions. Yeah, if you would say, Vikram, I know some things, but I'm still looking to learn something, then it's good attitude, guys. We should always have attitude of learning something. Yeah, so we should also appreciate it, right? You should not unless you talk about it like this guy, I don't know about this is working in cybersecurity from 8 years. It's fine, guys. I'm telling you, honestly telling you, guys. When I'm entering people, I'm seeing people like coming with a lot of experience, but they don't know the basics. And even with year of 3 4 experience, people say like I don't know, but I can do it. Yeah. So it's very simple. If you don't know, if you cannot explain it well, then it means you don't understand it well as well. Yeah. If you can explain it well, then you do understand it well, and you can do it on well as well. So it's very important if you can explain it well, so you can do well. Yeah. So now we are learning together. We are learning Mitre. This is very good source of learning and to in cybersecurity from attacker perspective and from SOC analyst perspective also. My thought is to make a good SOC analyst, and that's why actually I'm coming live and discussing about all this information. Okay, so I got one comment from Damanpreet Singh. Great session, Vikram. Would love to get your bestseller course on the Udemy too. Yes, guys. Thank you, Damanpreet. And I really appreciate you guys are, guys, I'm also an on Udemy a bestseller now for one of my course, which I spent a lot of time in that. During that time, I was not being appreciated or not acknowledged. But now I can see people are acknowledging my course, not Damanpreet, but other users, right? I can see the love he do with this comment, right? I really appreciate the man. I really appreciate, man. I'm really happy to give you this course for free. Thank you, man. You can contact to me on my WhatsApp. Yeah, I will be happy to give you a free coupon for that also. If you're coming, watching me, guys, I will do appreciation also from my side. If you wanted to learn something for free for me, I am ready. But I want appreciation from you, and you want appreciation from me. This is what, right? This is works in a way. Okay, cool. All right. So now I'm coming to the next techniques. Gather victim host information. So we can see other sub techniques like hardware, software, firmware, client configuration. Yeah. So when we attack a targeting a server or a machine, they should know, they must know about what hardware you're using, what software you're using, what firmware you're using, what configuration you have. Otherwise, it will blind and blank attack. For example, let's assume if I'm an attacker, right? I want to compromise your machine and I'm sending you an exploit of a Windows machine, but you are using a Mac machine or Linux machine. What is the point? Zero. I will fail, right? I'm sending you the exploit for the which application which is run on the Windows, but you're using a Linux machine. You're not using that application. What is the point? Zero. I will fail. So attacker are smart. Attacker first gather the information. Attacker will gather information about your hardware. Attacker will try to gather information about your software, firmware, and the configuration. How they can know about this information? By in the recon phase, they will send some packet, and you will get the response on those packets. Yeah, so basically just give me a minute, guys. Let me do something for you. Give me a minute, please. Sorry. Working from home is not easy, guys. Recording a video from home also. My son sometimes screaming always. Okay, cool. I'm back now. So, yep, we were discussing about this, yeah, hardware, software, firmware, client configuration. They have to do this, right? If I'm attacker, right, I want to exploit. So first I have to understand which operating system you are using. How we can know? There are a lot of techniques, and I would say there are a lot of tools available, like kind of Nmap. I will simply example say Nmap, right? Nmap can give you the operating system, which operating system you're using, right? Which application software you're using on the ports running, right? By sending the different packet in the response, I can also come to know about the firmware of the operating systems, and maybe if, and then we look for the the client configurations maybe. Yeah, so let me now go through this. They can, yep, so this is about the 64 34-bit. Yes, because it's important, right? When I'm attacker sending an exploit to run on a machine, if I'm sending a 30-bit exploit on to run on a 64-bit machine, it might fail. Yeah, so it's very very important for an attacker, before exploiting a targeting vulnerability on an endpoint or the end server, they should know about all these informations before they're doing attack. Some attacker do a blind attack, right? They just send their exploit. If it is executed, it's fine. If not, then it's fine. Because they are sending the same exploit to other whole to whole internet, right? They're scanning on 500 IP addresses. They're doing this attack on 500 IP addresses, but might be they're successful on 2, 5, 10, 50, 100. We don't know. Yes. Do you agree, guys? Do you have any comments for me? Okay. No comments? Everything is good? Okay. So we can see now we have covered two techniques. And how many tactics? First, in first, okay. In first we had three sub techniques, sorry. Tactics are on top. Techniques here and sub techniques are in each different technique. So in active scanning we covered, and then we covered three sub techniques. Gather victim host information we covered. There's four sub techniques. Okay, I will cover this also. Gather victim identity information. Gather victim identity information. So, okay, so you can see the credentials, the email address, the employee names. So how attacker will target your company if they know that this user, this person is working in that company. Yeah, they might send, that your email address might be available on your website only, or you have an account, you have social media accounts on different blogs where you mention your official ID, your names. Might be you, they will target you for phishing attack. They can send you some phishing emails to steal your credentials. Yeah, so they have to gather this information. This is under recon phase. Yeah, so they're gathering the credentials of a user. Maybe they are gathering the information. They can gather the information, the credential for the email accounts. They can gather it for the VPN accounts, right? They can gather it for your local machines. They can once they compromise your machine, right? They can install keylogger in your machine. They can come to know about your credentials, username, password to your local network, right? The email address available on the different job sites, on social sites, or your websites, your company websites. Your name is there. You are updating in the Facebook, you're on LinkedIn. Yeah, so they can gather these informations about before doing any other attacks. Yeah, then we can move to the others. There are different tools for crawling. They would not crawl. I was working on a project where I was doing crawling on the websites, like crawling, like in a sense, like crawling specific categories, scrolling specific URLs, specific usernames, specific activity which you can see. For example, you can see this procedure examples, this mitigation, detection, references, right? So you can put your crawler to just scroll these top headlines, for example. Yeah, from these websites you can crawl the IDs, for example, because this is all again the last an HTML page. An HTML page, they have to define meta tags, they have define headlines, headers, paragraphs, right, classes. Based on that we can do the crawlings. Not me, the attackers can do the crawling. They can fetch the informations on the websites available based on the employees names, based on the salary, based on the different websites, right, where employees giving the feedback about the companies, the salaries, the reviews. There are different ways of the crawling also. So attacker can not just doing manually, they're putting the crawlers online and doing the crawling for specific things in 1 or 2 seconds. Yeah, they can do it very quickly with through the bots. Yeah, so let me now just stop here. Yeah, I will now tell you how we can detect and how we can prevent this kind of attacks or techniques or sub techniques. Yeah, it's very important for you to understand also about the detection and the prevention, guys. Yeah, so let's start understanding about the reconnaissance phase. Yeah, so once attacker coming, that means they might be coming visiting your websites. Yeah, they have to pass through the firewall. True. Scanning the IP blocks, for example, the first sub techniques. For scanning, they have to send packets, either TCP or UDP packets. If they're sending TCP packets or UDP packets, they have to send a packet, and that packet have to traverse your firewall. If your firewall is in the network, you can see the packets coming from the outside, right? Might be attacker sending one packet, but if attacker doing a scanning of IP blocks, then it might not sending one packet. It will send multiple packets in fraction of seconds. Yeah, so you can look for the logic in the IPS or in the firewall event logs, that in case if one IP address trying to communicate over 100 of IP addresses in short of second span of 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes, then you will get a notification. Then you will see which IP, what other IP has been targeted, what port targeted, right? Then you can see from that perspective, okay, this guy is doing a recon active scanning for my IP blocks. If attacker is doing a blind scanning for different range allocated to a network, then you can come to know about it through firewall and through IPs. True. Similarly, for the vulnerability scanning, right? Vulnerability scanning you cannot detect because this is about the exploitation. Even the port scanning, you can identify the firewall or the IP signature. If attacker is doing a vulnerability scanning, right? Let me just discuss now only for this first three sub techniques. Vulnerability scanning. So vulnerability, that means what software you're using. So for that you have to use IPS or the web signature, web security control. Yeah, only after that you can come to know what exploitation attacker trying to send to your machines, to your websites, to your network. Then you can come to know, okay, but attacker did the port scanning, IP scanning, and then the attacker coming to the vulnerability scanning on the websites. And then you can further check the load balancer logs or the F5 logs or the web access logs to see what kind of the brute forcing being attempted by the attacker. So I think, guys, this is a good example. Now this is ending this web session call here, and we'll continue the discussion for tomorrow.